Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about Microsoft signs a binding Call of Duty deal with Nintendo ahead of the EU Activision hearing. Now, we do these type of standalone topics 4 days a week right here on 30NSG, live starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this type of content, please make sure you hit that share, like, and subscribe button. It is a great way to help the video out and also the channel. We're a small channel here. I give you the topic up front so you can just get the info that you want. And if you want to stay for the rest of the conversation in the live stream, you can. We discuss the topic with live chat each day, and then we talk about other topics later in the show. So let's get started. Now, Call of Duty will be available on Nintendo players on the same day as Xbox with full features of content parity under a 10-year agreement between the two platforms. Now, Microsoft Brad Smith announced the deal was announced earlier in December, but Smith was offering more details today ahead of the hearing of Microsoft will argue in the case of the EU regulatories to allow its $69 billion acquisition with Call of Duty publishers Activision Blizzard to proceed. Now, as Tom Warner wrote back in December, the Nintendo deal is almost certainly part of Microsoft's attempt to pressure Sony into accepting a similar offer to the regulatory to competition concerns. Now, the PlayStation maker has emerged as one of the chief opponents of Microsoft's opposed acquisition, saying it risks reducing competition by locking key features like Call of Duty to Xbox consoles and Microsoft serves like Game Pass. Now, as well as Call of Duty, Smith tweeted alludes to the Xbox games more generally through a 10-year deal is also on the table. Now, Sony wants to sign, but PlayStation chief Jim Ryan previously called a Microsoft offer to keep Call of Duty on Sony's consoles for several more years beyond the existing market deal inadequate on so many levels. Now, Jim Ryan, this is not about Call of Duty, right? This has never been about Call of Duty. This is not about saying that, oh, well, if they get Call of Duty, they're automatically going to be number one. Sony can't be that scared in the market that they're leading the pack of console makers, right? This is more of a stall tactic, in my opinion. Now, obviously, you guys have your opinions. I have mine. This is a stall tactic that they're trying to get their ducks in a row so they can compete with Microsoft down the line. I've said it in the past that they have to get their games on PC, which they've done. They have to get a thing sort of like Game Pass, which they've done. Right? They've done all of these things, and this is just another tactic to get their ducks in a row. Buying Bungie, getting live service games ready to go. Right? These are all things in the pipeline that Jim Ryan has done for Sony. And the PlayStation market. Now, news of the deal comes as Microsoft is preparing to plead its case for the EU regulatories today. The closed hearing is expected to be attended and representatives from Microsoft, including Brad Smith, Xbox head Phil Spencer, as well as Activision CEO Bobby Kotick, also as Sony's Jim Ryan, representatives from Google, Nvidia, Valve, Electronic Arts, and also European Games Developer Federation, and over half a dozen different national competition called the Watchdogs are also expected to take part. Now, this, in my opinion, no matter what happens, because business is business, palms will be greased down the line, okay? And in my opinion, no matter what happens within this, even if the EU negates it, they can counter sue, or they can also, take it to court or whatever to counter it. This deal is going through 100%. So much so, people look at this and go, well, they're doing this and they're releasing this information that they signed a deal with Nintendo because the things today going, hey, look, we're signing a deal with Nintendo. There's no way we're going to screw this over with Sony. And in my thought process here, Microsoft is spending $70 billion, which is an astronomical number. But in the bigger scheme of things of Microsoft itself is just a drop in the bucket, okay? But for the Xbox division, it's astronomical, okay? The $70 billion, and I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again, they're not getting rid of Call of Duty off any platform. They're not getting rid of any console off any platform, okay? There's a difference between what they paid for Bethesda at $7 billion and what they're paying for Activision Blizzard at $70 billion, okay? Making Starfield exclusive or any other Bethesda game exclusive for Xbox is a completely different thing than making exclusive for Call of Duty. They want to make their money back as fast as possible. And $7 billion for Starfield and Bethesda's games is a lot easier to make back than the $70 billion they're paying for Activision Blizzard. They're going to need Call of Duty on many platforms as possible. Not only are they not taking it away from Sony PlayStation, but they're adding it to Nintendo Switch because they need as many pieces of revenue as possible to come back in. Also, Microsoft is not really looking at Call of Duty as the end-all, be-all of this deal. It just so happens it's one of the bigger elephants in the room, but the biggest elephant in the room is the mobile section for Microsoft, and this is why they want this deal to go through. The deal that they want to go through is because of Candy Crush and because of the mobile market. They're trying to get into this stuff, right? So the EU reportedly issued a formal antitrust warning to Microsoft over the deal earlier this month, in which it's believed it has expressed concern over the deal's impact on the fair competition in video game market. In response, Microsoft's spokesperson, David Cuddy, said the company is committed to the solution and finding paths forward for this deal. And that is it. Listening carefully to the European Commission concerns and confident and they can get addressed and address them all. Now, outside the European Union, Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition has also faced opposition from the UK and the US regulators. The US Federation Trade Commission filed a legal challenge to block the acquisition in early December of 2022, arguing that it would enable Microsoft to surpass competitors to its Xbox gaming console and rapidly growing subscription content and cloud gaming business. Meanwhile, the UK Competition and Markets Authority said the deal could result in higher prices, fewer choices, or less innovative for UK gamers in provisional filing announced earlier this month. Now, this is funny to me because the people that are against this, which is Sony PlayStation, is number one in the market. Now, they're saying that it won't be fair because Microsoft, if they get Activision Blizzard, I know a lot of you out there are saying, well, buy the studios and then make the games. Well, business is business. This is not like if you get in a fight with someone in the streets, there's no rules. Yanking someone's ear out, taking your thumb, sticking in the eye, pulling their jaw back, kicking them in the nuts, whatever it is, there's no rules. Unless you're in a sanctioned ring and you're boxing or playing MMA fighting in an octagon, those are rules set, what you can and can't do. But in business, there's no rules on what's right or wrong as far as, well, I bought this company and all of a sudden now I'm in the lead. There's no rules. Okay, business is business. So it makes me laugh to think that Sony's in the lead and they're like, well, it's not fair because such and such just bought this and now they have an advantage. Well, that's what happens, right? That's what happens. If anything, life is not fair. Business is definitely not fair. Now, they are doing the exact same thing Microsoft is doing. I'm not taking any sides in this as far as Microsoft or Sony, but Sony has been nothing but a bunch of like crybabies at this time. And I'm not saying Sony PlayStation. Sony is the company itself. This is not a mark against any fanboys out there for Xbox or Sony. If you take that way, that's on you. Okay. But Sony itself has the market, has the console market. Xbox is not even a thing. If Xbox takes Call of Duty and Call of Duty is on all platforms, well, then it's still a win for everybody because everyone gets to play the game everywhere. Now, sure, Microsoft is making more money now and inside the business, and that's just the way businesses run. Now, if they do take it away, this is not Minority Report. You can look ahead and say, well, they can make this exclusive after the 10 years, within year 11 or 12, and then it can make the market completely uncompetitive and higher prices. Well, I don't remember anyone saying anything wrong when EA got a 10-year, 15-year deal where no other competition was acceptable for NFL games. You could not make an NFL game. You could not make a football game in any way, shape, or form. And everyone was like, it's no big deal. And I get it. It's a completely different thing because one is a higher margin of thing. But if you look at it, just the sports category, EA dominated and no one had a problem with it. They bought it, had a contract, 15 years. They're signing another deal with Madden. They're signing another deal with FIFA or, English Premier League, right? That is a problem. What Microsoft is doing, it's not a monopoly. There's plenty of other first-person shooter games. There's plenty of other studios that can come up the ranks and be the next Activision, to be the next Take-Two, to be whatever. And you know what? They'll all get bought up at some point down the line unless they put rules in a place, which is what this is all about, really. Today, the statement from Microsoft says the deal is to bring Call of Duty games to Nintendo players without mentioning specific hardware like Nintendo Switch. As it approaches its 6th year on the market, the portable Switch console is increasingly showing its age and relatively low processing power compared to the latest console from Sony and Microsoft, as well as the modern gaming PC, where games typically play the latest Call of Duty releases, and Call of Duty, the game is to release on Nintendo's console, was 2013's Call of Duty Ghost on the Wii U. Okay, sure, you could look at this and go, well, Microsoft is just grasping at things right now. They're like, look, hey, we're throwing a 10-year deal at Nintendo, even though the last deal they had with Call of Duty was 10 years ago in 2013. But this, to me, shows that Microsoft is trying to get as many people to sell the game as possible because they need to make their $70 billion back faster rather than later. If they close down Call of Duty and take it away from Sony PlayStation, they're not going to make $70 billion back faster. It's going to be slower because less people own an Xbox, right? And if their vision of Game Pass is out there, let's say they put it on Game Pass, it's going to get more people to get Game Pass, but it's not going to get exponentially more right away. It's going to take years and years to grow to customize that, but they're not doing that, right? Businesses want return on their investment fast, within like 3 to 5 years. Well, $70 billion with Call of Duty just on Xbox is definitely not going to do that. Okay? You got King with Candy Crush making about $1.2, $1.5 billion a year. It's like ridiculous in how much money they make each and every single month just off a mobile app. Okay? Then you have the Call of Duty, which also makes like $1.2, $1.6 billion a quarter. So let's say they make $4 billion a year plus the additional $2 billion, $3 billion. That's $7 billion. Just off of that, it would take them 10 years to get their money back off of those two franchises alone. So they got to do a lot, right? These are just my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comment section down below. If you're watching this after the fact, or if you're at live chat right now, let me hear what you have to say about this topic. Please make sure you hit that like button. And if you didn't like the video, I thank you for watching this long, and I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next video. All right. What's going on, chat? Let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Obviously, there's a lot going on with this scenario, right? What's going on, Stealth? What's going on, Jesse Mack? What's going on, Nostalgic? Krebsy? Travis? Good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing? What's going on, B? Nostalgic says, yo. Jesse says, good morning, boys. Good topic to kick things back to normal. Can't wait to bash my head through the wall at some takes. But most importantly, have a good conversation. Sony never will sign with Microsoft. Sony already decided that the deal with 10 years of COD, this makes me laugh. Yeah, it's just weird to me that they've decided that no matter what happens, they don't want to do it. They've negated that they don't want a 10-year deal, right? The 5-year deal wasn't enough. It was laughable, Jim Ryan said, and then all of a sudden now the 10-year deal is not good enough either. That room is going to be full of ego. Oh yeah, in the trial. Sarge says because of Candy Crush. Look, Candy Crush makes something along the lines of like $1 or $2 billion a year off a mobile app, and if they can get that mobile market and start bringing that onto their docket, that's a good thing for Microsoft. That's what they're trying to do. Microsoft has no mobile presence, not a monopoly. COD is a game on all platforms, not a monopoly. Right. Travis says, I mean, I won't be fair, not because Microsoft is creating a monopoly, but because they aren't enough bricks in the world to make Xbox system, aka expensive paperweight. But it's not a monopoly. It's not a monopoly in any way, shape, or form, Travis. It's not a monopoly. Microsoft building a monopoly, the mobile games empire and cloud gaming empire after the deal pretty soon. No, it's still, look, it's not a monopoly. If there's a second company, regardless if it could be a 2% market. Okay, you see what I'm saying? If there's another company doing the exact same thing as them, it's not a monopoly. Right? Pepsi says, monopoly hasn't been the problem for the majority of this. It's about keeping the market safe, and Activision Blizzard King being a part of the market equals major market disruption. Sure, but let's talk about what they do in general, right? To change it up. Okay. What is the disruption? Is it Call of Duty? Is Call of Duty the disruption? Or is Activision Blizzard the disruption? Is it Blizzard is the disruption? Is it Activision is the disruption? Is it the mobile king is a disruption? Or is the entire thing is a disruption? Right? Because if it's Blizzard, then they could just buy Blizzard, right? And then Bobby Kotick keeps Activision, and again, this is just hypothetical, right? Because I don't think it's going to happen in any way, shape, or form. So Blizzard says, you know what? We're going to separate. Kotick is like, you know what? We're going to separate Activision from Blizzard. So they're only selling Blizzard and the mobile, okay? And Kotick keeps Activision. What then? So it's okay for them to buy Blizzard then, right? It's okay to buy Blizzard and King because now the disruption is not there anymore. Activision's not there, but someone else picks up Activision, right? And now that person owns the majority of the sales of Activision for Call of Duty. So what happens then? Is it unfair for that company, or is it unfair because Microsoft is a company that's 7th overall and now they buy it, but now the company that's 4th overall or 3rd overall or 1st overall buys that company? Who gets to buy Activision? Does Activision ever get to be bought? Or does Activision have to just sit there and take it going, nah, sorry, we can't sell because no one's allowed to own us because we're too successful? It doesn't make sense, right? Right, Sarge. Madden is a monopoly. FIFA is a monopoly. When the courts with Microsoft and Sony, I hope they can watch the live TV. No, it's in a private, it's closed off. I don't think they're doing anything. What if Sony goes in and tries to buy Activision? That's what I'm saying, Buck, right? So Microsoft's not allowed to own them because I think Microsoft is, 4th in the console market or in consoles, right? I'm pretty sure. Can they be 4th? What other company beat them? Xbox, let's see, rankings? No. Console rankings? Console rankings, global best-selling game consoles. That's best gaming consoles, right? All right, here I'll look at this just for shits and giggles, right? Best-selling consoles: PlayStation, Nintendo, Game Boy, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Nintendo Wii, PlayStation 3. Okay. The next thing is Xbox 360 that sold 85.8 million units. Okay, that's 8th on the list. Okay, that's 8th on the list. Let me bring this up and show you guys. Okay, this is what they're scared of. PlayStation's been around for years. Okay, they have the number 1 with PlayStation 2. Then Nintendo, okay, with 2 with 154.9. Then the Game Boy 118. Then PlayStation 4 with 116. And this has changed because this is old because now PlayStation 4, I believe, has 149 million. Right, they're up there in like 3rd place. Okay, then Nintendo Switch is up in the 117, 118 or something like that right now. Then you have PlayStation, the original PlayStation. Then you have the Nintendo Wii. Then you have PlayStation 3. Then you have the Xbox 360. Then you have the Game Boy Advance. Then you have the PlayStation Portable. Then you have the Nintendo 3DS. Then you have the Nintendo Entertainment System. And then you have the Xbox One. Okay, the Xbox Series S and X are all the way down here at the bottom. Okay. So now this company buys it and moves ahead, and they go from, I don't know, let's say the Xbox Series S and X is down here, and now it might go up to like here, which still makes them below the Xbox 360. This is the worst graph I've ever seen. I'm not looking at this graph, Sarge. This I'm not looking at. I'm reading these numbers over here on the side. Over here. This is the list. Sort by total sales. Okay, this is PlayStation over here. Here, let me see if I can open this in the new tab so you guys can see. We're looking at this over here. Okay, we're looking at this. I'm not looking at the actual graph. Okay. We're looking at the list from top to bottom. PlayStation, Nintendo, Game Boy, which is Nintendo, PlayStation, PlayStation, Xbox, which is the 360, which is already been 10 years removed. Okay. All right. Jason Ingram, is it wrong that I like watching Microsoft weep massive tears? Why is Microsoft weeping tears? Microsoft's not weeping tears. They're the ones buying Activision Blizzard, Jason. The only tears that are coming from is Jim Ryan and Sony right now. I think Sony might be scared of Nintendo and just be who thinks that. Well, Nintendo, I always love these conversations though, right, Jesse? Everyone always thinks it's the competitions between Xbox and Sony, or Microsoft and Sony. Meanwhile, Nintendo's in the background. Everyone forgets about Nintendo. Okay. Right? Nintendo has, look how many things they have sold. Nintendo DS, Game Boy, Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Wii, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo Entertainment System, right? They have seven systems in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The top 15, they have half of the systems. The other half are Sony, which is 6, and 1 is Xbox, which is Xbox 360. Okay? So Sony's trying to show you that if Microsoft gets Call of Duty and Activision and Blizzard and King, that they're all of a sudden going to be number one in the market, which is just not true. Not true. Okay? Because all of a sudden, let me scroll down all the way over here with the sales of Xbox Series X and S, right, which is around 20 million now, all right? And this is an older stat, but 14.32 million. Okay? All of a sudden, do we think that because they get Call of Duty, all of a sudden Microsoft sells 110 million units? No, it's not going to happen. Because, again, Microsoft, if buying Activision Blizzard, wants to make their $70 billion back as fast as possible. And to do that, you can't negate one of the systems. You're not going to take it off of one of the systems. And also, let's just look at where the Switch is. The Switch is top 4 now, okay? Because I believe it's like 117, 118 million units sold, okay? They're like top 4 of all time, right? Xbox wants to get in bed with Nintendo, hence why they signed a 10-year deal with Nintendo when they said, hey, when we get Activision Blizzard, we want to make Call of Duty for you and whatever your next system is and or the Switch. Okay, because they didn't say the Switch. They just said they signed a deal with Nintendo for 10 years once they get the actual thing. Hope that we get updates on the old games as they're all taken down from Blizzard and Activision, like Transformers, for instance. Right, Nostalgic? Akuta Papa says, 30, I firmly believe that Sony's been playing people. How things have been going, the board of review has also been too nice, and Sony on too many points. Yet, look, I believe, Akuta Papa, that this is all smoke and mirrors, right? When a magician does a trick, there's smoke and mirrors and it's sleight of hand, okay? Which is a whole other conversation, but sleight of hand is what it is, right? They're like, hey, look over here. Look at what Microsoft is trying to do. And meanwhile, they're doing the exact same thing. Sony is number one in the console market. They are. Okay? They just are. They have the number one selling first-party title games for the last decade. With Horizon and Spider-Man and God of War and Ratchet and Clank and all the stuff. No one comes close to them. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Somebody does. You know who that is? Nintendo with their first-party titles. Right? Microsoft, and here's what I find funny. The fanboys out there, the Sony ponies or the ex-pony boys, whatever you want to call them, okay, no matter what the news is, Sony pony boys, okay, complain that Microsoft has no exclusives, no first-party titles, and they have to pay to get exclusives. Business doesn't care on who gets what. The corporations and the companies are going to buy up, eat up, and this is why I call them Unicron, because in Unicron just eats planets up and moves on. Why? Because it has to survive. Businesses are all the same. They have to survive. How do they survive? They always have to keep this, which is their profits and gross margins, up always. Year after year, okay? month after month, year after year, they have to keep this going up. Okay, well, how do they do that? Well, a company that makes trillions of dollars has to bring in other people to make more money. Otherwise, investors get upset and so on and so forth. See, Sony doesn't understand this because they're so much smaller than what Microsoft is. Not speaking of PlayStation and Xbox, we're talking about Microsoft and Sony. Microsoft, if they wanted to, the world won't let them, can pay cash money out of pocket for Sony. Straight up. Go, you know what? Here you go. And buy them up. Sony cannot do that. They're 10 times more rich, okay, just cash money than Sony is worth, okay? So this is the problem, okay, that people think that that Sony's your friend, Microsoft's your friend, and as an outsider looking in, I'm just looking at this as a business, and the business needs to keep growing, and they're going to buy, and if they don't buy Activision Blizzard King, they're going to go out and buy someone else, okay? Now, I know it's not a big deal, but, you know, Sony keeps buying up these other developers, okay? And I know someone's going to say, well, they're not buying publishers. It doesn't matter in business, okay? They have to buy people up to do certain things. That's what it is, okay? If you want to survive in business, you have to eat other businesses up, chew them up, spit them out, and keep continuing moving forward. Why Nintendo systems is in every second, every time PlayStation systems just above the Nintendo systems? Well, that's not true. You have PlayStation, then you have Nintendo, then you have Game Boy, then you have PlayStation, then you have the Switch, then you have PlayStation. Oh, that's true. Well, I see what you're saying here. You're saying PlayStation, Nintendo, PlayStation, right? Like, that's the biggest competitor. But Nintendo's not buying up Activision Blizzard. But now Microsoft is going, hey, you want to get in bed with us? You want to buy, you want a 10-year contract, right? I just love the fact that no one ever said anything wrong with EA buying up 100% of the sports market for football. Football, American football, and football everywhere else football, right? FIFA and Madden have been bought up by Madden or by EA for decades, and that's a monopoly. Nobody else can make a football game. Nobody else can do anything else, but yet everyone's fine with that, right? And they think that's what's going to happen with Microsoft. Microsoft is going to buy up Call of Duty, and it's going to get stale and boring and whatnot. But is it? Again, this is not Minority Report. We can all speculate. We can all say that when Microsoft buys it, it's going to go to crap or whatnot. But again, we're not Minority Report. We can't predict the future. You can justify what the future is going to be, but you do not know what the future beholds. And you can't hold a company saying, well, you can't buy this because 20 years from now, you're going to be a conglomerate company. Because if that was the case, then Microsoft wouldn't be on every single computer known to man. But they let Linux on there. They let Apple have their operating system, right? They let other operating systems on there. Even though Microsoft is like 90% of the market, right? They let other companies have an operating system. I believe Sony doesn't care as much as some think, and it's just being a good, smart company and positioning and taking themselves with the best interest in mind. Sure, Jim Ryan's doing what he thinks is best for Sony, and all these other people are doing. So the best interest for Phil Spencer and what he's doing is to buy Activision Blizzard. You see what I'm saying? Like, if Jim Ryan gets credit for being what the best interest for themselves is, then isn't that what Phil Spencer's doing with Microsoft? Papa says, oh, and someone made a good point. Microsoft has been talking Nintendo, and the Switch can run the Call of Duty great, but what about the system coming out maybe in a year or two? Right. They never said the Switch, Akuda. They never said that they were making a deal to bring it to the Nintendo Switch. They just said a 10-year deal with Nintendo, and we don't know what Nintendo... Now, there is rumors that another Nintendo system's coming out within the next year or two, right? All right, Travis. So that's why Microsoft said that they are competing with Google and Amazon. They look at Sony as an annoying child, essentially. Right. Now, think about this, right? What if, all of a sudden, Microsoft doesn't buy Activision Blizzard King, okay? But all of a sudden, Amazon comes in, and they buy Activision Blizzard and King. Now, all of a sudden, Amazon, who's not in the, they don't have a console. They have Luna right now. They're in the streaming service, okay? They don't have any games besides New World and whatever else they're working on with the Amazon Studios. All of a sudden, they pick up Activision Blizzard King, and voila, all of a sudden they're in the running. Is that okay? Are they allowed to do that? Is anyone allowed to buy Activision Blizzard King? Or is it too much of a disruption to the industry because someone else might lose their first place standing? You see what I'm saying? Competition is good for business. Look at what happened to GameStop once they bought all the other competitors, right? Right. But they didn't buy all the competitors, right? They only bought 98% of the, and it wasn't a monopoly. There are small mom and pop stores out there and other ones that came up. But I know what you're saying. You know, that's exactly right, though. They did buy everything. In the future, Microsoft will ask Nintendo about what if they bring Nintendo games over the Game Pass. If Nintendo signed a deal with Microsoft that would allow Game Pass to grow or no. That's actually a good point, Jesse, because if you look at Nintendo already started putting their IPs on Apple, right? Like you can get, and I think it's on Android as well, but you can get Mario type games now on the mobile devices. You can get Mario Kart on mobile devices, right? You could get these IPs on other devices that are not Nintendo. It's just smart for business to, diversify yourself to put your IPs out there, right? Again, I don't think, even if they do, again, there's a difference between what they did with Bethesda and what they're doing with Call of Duty. If they paid $70 billion for Bethesda, you better believe that that's going to be on all systems across the board. But because they paid $7 billion, okay, and they're making quite a bit of money back off Fallout 76 and Skyrim resales and ESO Online, they're making their money back quite fast for that $7 billion investment, okay? $70 billion is a completely different beast, and they're not going to make it exclusive for one console. That would just be stupid business sense. EA having FIFA and Madden is a deal between franchise owner and NFL and FIFA. EA isn't trying to buy NFL or FIFA organization. Shitty wording, sorry. Well, they're not trying to. The difference is between what EA is doing. They're going to NFL and making it exclusive. Fantastic. No other company can make a football game in the place. In no way, shape, or form is Microsoft trying to make Call of Duty exclusive. It's everything they said opposite, right? They're not trying to make it exclusive in any way, shape, or form. But if they wanted to, they could, right? If they wanted to, they could. And that's what everyone's worried about. Everyone's worried about, well, they can if they want to. But at least in the next 10 years, they're not going to make it exclusive because they figure in 10 years they can make their money back on the $70 billion. Amazon would get the same treatment that Microsoft is getting. Activision Blizzard is unpurchasable in the current environment of the industry. Like no one can buy them, Amazon or Apple. See, that's false though. They can be bought. They can be bought. They just don't want them. They just don't want Microsoft to buy them, right? Because right now there's no other player in the market, right? There's no other player in the market. You can't just go, well, Bob such and such all of a sudden made a gaming company. No, there is no other competitors. There's Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. That's it. Microsoft or Amazon and Google are not in the industry. They have studios in the industry. They're not publishers. Well, Amazon Studios is, right? But there's like a pimple on your ass as far as that, okay? So of course they're not threatened by them because they're brand new on the scene. Okay, but real quick, Amazon could buy EA, they could buy Square Enix, they could buy Ubisoft, right? They could buy Activision Blizzard if they wanted to. Because in no way, shape, or form will Amazon pick up Activision Blizzard King and all of a sudden go from non-existent to number one in the market. It's just not going to happen. Sony's stance makes me laugh because there are other companies who can call Activision Blizzard with cash. Google, Amazon, Tencent. Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'd rather Microsoft take it because I don't think the other companies will do Activision justice. I personally don't want Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard, right? I don't. I would rather, personally, Akuta Papa, I would rather see Bobby Kotick like completely just fall off the face of the earth and the company just goes bankrupt and falls to nothing. And then the developers go other places, right? I would be rather happy if Activision Blizzard just falls off the face of off the planet, because I just don't like Bobby Kotick and what he has. But here we are. That's not going to happen, right? I can see a way where Bobby Kotick, if this deal doesn't go through, and I mean this, okay? Bobby Kotick, if this doesn't go through, Sony is the problem of why this deal didn't go through. Not the commission, not the FTC, right? Sony is the problem. And Bobby Kotick has so much money and makes so much money. At this point, I don't think he cares. And he would be like, you know what? Call of Duty from this point forward, is not going to be on Sony PlayStation. He could do that because it's his company. And he could be like, you know what? Screw it. I'm taking it away from Sony. Because that's what type of person Bobby Kotick is. Not to say it's going to happen, right? Right? But that could be a thing. He is so vindictive on people that if Sony burns this bridge with Activision Blizzard, then Bobby Kotick goes, you know what? Later. And goes, we're now exclusive for Xbox, okay, and Nintendo. That's it. Oh, I have thoughts. What if Sony wants to buy Nintendo? Then Microsoft wants them too. Never been about COD. It's actually about Nintendo. Who wants to buy Nintendo? No one's buying Nintendo, Jesse. No one's buying Nintendo. Nintendo, you guys don't understand how big Nintendo is. Nintendo's not getting touched. Let me see. Nintendo's net worth, let's see here, is $52.78 billion as of February 20th, 2023. It's an interactive chart, historical net worth, market cap. Nintendo, over the last 10 years, how much a company is worth, a typical represent in the market capitalization of the current stock price, multiple by the number of shares outstanding. Nintendo's net worth as of February 20th of 2023 is $52.78 billion. Now, I know it doesn't seem like a lot. You're like, well, they're just buying Activision for $70 billion. Okay. That is just Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't make anything else. Nintendo is just a gaming company. Okay. That's it. Right? They don't make anything. Here, at January 4th, Nintendo is currently sitting at more than $95 billion net worth. It's considered to be the third most valuable company in Japan. Right? Nintendo is untouchable because no one can buy them because Japan won't let it be bought. They have assets on top of that as $12.4 billion. I think Bobby is purposely throwing. Do you? You think he's purposely throwing it? Like, how is he throwing it, though? I don't think he wants to be bought so he can remain head honcho. Activision Blizzard King will survive with or without Microsoft. Well, I believe that, Krebsy, right? And this is why I'm saying, like, if the deal doesn't go through, Bobby Kotick goes on with his life. Still makes Diablo, still makes World of Warcraft, still makes Overwatch, still makes all the games that they're making. Still has Candy Crush. Right? So, what do they do? How about this? Here, I'll do an example for you. What if Microsoft does this instead? They say, you know what? We've decided we don't want to buy Activision Blizzard King. But we are going to do a 15-year deal exclusively with Activision Blizzard, where Call of Duty is only on Game Pass and Microsoft. Right? That would be the same type of deal as EA buying the NFL for 15 years exclusive. Same deal as FIFA exclusive. Okay? They give $3 billion, they give $10 billion exclusive to Activision Blizzard King. And Bobby Kotick sits back and goes, thank you very much. The comments he has been making recently, it seems that he purposely is saying the wrong stuff to taint the waters of Activision Blizzard going through. Because I would laugh my ass off if Microsoft all of a sudden was like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to buy them for $70 billion, but we are going to sign a $10 billion deal for a 10-year exclusive deal with Call of Duty and Activision Blizzard. Then what? What is the commission going to say then? Right? Why would Bobby not to get paid? Oh, he gets his money regardless, Sarge. That's what I was questioning. If Activision Blizzard is furious about Sony blowing the deal, they could take COD away anyways, right? A bit pity, but it's possible, right? Absolutely, Stubby, right? Think about the stories you've heard of Bobby Kotick in the past about him, being furious with someone, and didn't he try to murder somebody and threaten them in an email? You don't think that he's gonna you don't think that he's gonna come through and be like, yeah, you know what? You don't think he's gonna get paid and be like, you know what? We're gonna take it off the table. We're gonna keep Activision Blizzard. I'm still gonna make my money. What's going on, Water? Just came in, but does exclusive do anything in this case? What's the point when it's still going to be playable on PC? No, it's not exclusive. They're just signing a deal with Nintendo saying that, look, and the reason they're doing this, at least this is what they feel like they're doing. They signed the deal like a written contract saying, look, if Activision Blizzard gets bought out by Microsoft, Nintendo's already on board, already signed a deal. They're okay with, because look, Nintendo is the second largest company out there in the console area, and they're okay with Microsoft owning Activision Blizzard because they already signed a 10-year deal going, hey, look, Nintendo's okay with this, and they're also ahead of us in the market, right? We're Sony's number one, and they're not okay with this. The reason they're not okay with this is because they are trying to stall because they still want to keep their number one status, and they're saying, well, if Microsoft buys this, okay, we're going to lose our number one status. Hence why they haven't really announced anything with the state of play. Hence why they haven't come out with a lot of things lately. They're all keeping it close to their chest because they're waiting for all this to die down to see what the pro negative is if Microsoft gets it or doesn't get it. Bobby wants his bonus. He's not taking anything. Sarge, I think he gets $3 billion if the deal doesn't go through. Just to let you know. I think he gets $3 billion if the deal doesn't go through. So that Bobby gets paid regardless. Nintendo has its own environment. They don't really care. They were like, go ahead. It's not going to hurt us and help us. Our fan base, our Mario players. Exactly. Bobby sits on the beach with a nice glass of beer while Activision Blizzard makes the next COD and games, but Bobby sits back there and is getting paid. He gets paid no matter what. Of course Nintendo doesn't care. None of those games include COD or Switch anyway. Right, but it's not saying Switch though, Dave. Right? They're just signing up a 10-year deal with Nintendo for whatever that is. So let's say Nintendo's working behind the scenes right now and they're making a system that's more powerful than anything we've seen before. Obviously, we don't know. Okay, their next system is the competitor to PlayStation, to Xbox, right? A lot of people don't think Nintendo's a competitor to PlayStation or Xbox because they're all like on their own little island over here with the Switch portable device. Okay, but Nintendo is a competitor. They're number 2 in the overall picture of consoles, right? They actually might be number 1 with the total sales of all their little Game Boy Advances and 3DSs and all the other consoles. Nintendo has nothing to lose. The deal goes through and doesn't. They're already in their corner, and they cut out for themselves. Right. Sony really got the cinema and the games, and their other portions aren't making that much money. No. And this is why when people are fanboys of Sony, they only look at PlayStation versus Microsoft or Xbox. Meanwhile, Microsoft and Sony, this is why there's no comparison of what it is, right? They're worried about their small little independent area, but Microsoft is looking towards the future, right? They're like, great, Sony, you have the console. Congratulations, you have the console. We're trying to get streaming services. We're trying to get this. And this is why Phil Spencer over a year ago said that our biggest competitors are Amazon and Google, because they know they're the only ones that have the paychecks or the pockets. I'm sorry, not the paychecks, but the pockets so deep that they can compete with Microsoft. At this point, it's not about Xbox and PlayStation. It's about Microsoft versus Amazon versus Google. Look at my comment before. I don't think people understand Microsoft can make up Activision's losses from PlayStation. That how big Microsoft is compared to Sony. Right. Overall, Akuda Papa, that's what I'm saying. Is it's almost, I said this a couple of weeks ago, Game Pass itself is only 15% of their revenue, right? But what is that term? And my brain's a little lost, but is it, it's not loss. It's basically you give something away, basically, right? You give it away because in the bigger picture, the bigger scheme of things, it brings in more business to your overall business, right? Microsoft itself is this giant conglomerate thing, and they're giving Game Pass away for $1, for $10, for $15. They can give that away to get more people to come into the Microsoft world. I forget what that wording is. My brain can't think of it. Microsoft makes military weapons. They really don't care about consoles, hence the reason why they promote Game Pass. Right. Look at my comment. I already got that. I did not know Sony's film revenue was down by close to $200 million from last year. Dang. Yeah, well, they only had the one popular movie, which was Spider-Man. To be honest, they're all in bed together. They all use technology from each other. Yeah. Well, remember, Sony's also using the Azura program for their streaming technology, right? Come on, Chief. They'll make it back when they drop Spider-Man, right? Right? They'll make their money back. They have televisions. Look, Sony has made changes in what they're doing, right? They saw what was happening, and they're like, well, if we want to compete, they had to get their games off of PlayStation. They had to put them on PC. I called this years ago, and they've done it. Okay? They had their PlayStation service, but it wasn't like Game Pass, and they're going to make their system like Game Pass, right? Obviously, it's a little different because they don't put their day and date for brand new games on that service, but they all have a streaming service now with more games coming out. They're preparing themselves for live service games coming forward to make the residual income every single month and whatnot on top of the residual income that they make for PlayStation Plus, right? They're doing all the things they have to do to compete, but Amazon and Google are literally one buyout away from just separating themselves, and PlayStation is in 10 years' time, Sony PlayStation could be a relic of the past. It could be the Sega Dreamcast, could be the Atari system, because the future of gaming, the future of where it's going is streaming, digital downloads, and all that stuff. And right now, Microsoft is jockeying position to be what PlayStation is for consoles for that market. Okay? They're trying to be number one in the market before anybody else gets there. And Sony's like, well, we need to stop this from happening, because if they get Activision Blizzard and they take all those games and put them on the streaming platform, and then 10 years from now, we are screwed. Just on Windows and enterprise systems, Microsoft makes tons of money. The loss from making up the Sony and Activision Blizzard would be like a blood loss from a needle. Right, but in the case of, it's still a separate division, right? Even though Microsoft is making tons of money on the other things, if the division of Xbox is buying Activision Blizzard, they want to make their money back in that market. Now, obviously, they can take other money from other places and throw it at people because they literally have so much money, right? It's not like Microsoft is pulling the money only from Xbox to go, yeah, what do you want for your game to be on Game Pass? 30 million? Sure, here you go. Oh, Xbox has only got 10 million left. No, they have an endless pocket. Think about Microsoft as your mom's purse. It's got everything in it, right? They're like, hey, we need this. She's like, here's a ladder. Here you go, right? That's what Microsoft is. It's an endless well of wealth that they can just keep throwing at stuff. My concern is the cost of the internet is actually play it. My concern is the cost of internet to actually play it. What do you mean by that? By the service provider or by the service they're charging? As far as like Game Pass goes up to like $30, is that what you're saying, Water? It's still about 20%, but I agree, probably not a huge deal in the long run. I mean, Xbox was super close in being done in 2015, and right now they appear to be in the same state without Activision Blizzard. Yeah, but this is what I'm talking about, Krebsy. Microsoft will keep Xbox alive, even if it's losing money for them, because in the long run, it's still information is king. Information is king. Buying an Xbox is just the gateway to get people to sign up with an email address, to sign up with a credit card, to buy their games digitally inside their house, right? To keep track of people's information. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Go back up a little bit. First statement. Okay, I think I have one more generation of console. Then it's going to be a small streaming boxes. Gotcha. Microsoft's account balance is like that tent in Harry Potter, right? No, it's the Doctor Who. It's the phone booth. It looks like a phone booth, but you go inside, and it's just this giant place that just keeps happening. You could do that all by selling software, sure, but this is a different. How do I put it? Younger generation of people are coming up. What is the tactic of getting into people's places? Something that's interesting to them, right? Games are a huge market. Microsoft's tapping into that resource to get those people to sign up. To be sure, they can put software out there on some other way, but gaming is such a prolific and like popular thing nowadays, right? It's surpassed sports, it's surpassed movie industry, it's surpassed so many things. Well, if they're not part of it, how are they going to capture that market, right? So throwing money at Game Pass, throwing money at all this other stuff just to get that information from the younger generation is worth 10 times what you're paying for Game Pass. Why do you think Google's worth so much? Right? Your information, what you search, what you browse, all that stuff is worth 10 times. All right? They'll give you something for free just so they can get your information to see what your search history is, so they can take advertisers and put it towards the stuff. It's exactly the same thing. Why does Amazon give free shipping to stuff, right? Because they're going to make their money 10 times fold back on there. So what is that word? The lost... It's not cost fallacy. God, I can't think of it. So we'll go from playing on console, buying microtransactions, to having literally buy microtransactions on high-cost internet to play 8K, 10K games. Right. I feel like gaming will become a rich person's hobby. I don't know if it will ever become a rich person's hobby. You're right, though. Data is valuable. Microsoft can still collect data without making games. Sure. But they don't have a mobile market. What's the phone that they have? Right? Think about this, Krebsy. Game Pass is on every device, 3 billion devices. If they didn't have Game Pass on 3 billion devices that you could play or access or whatnot, what phone are they using? What is the Microsoft phone? What is it, 2%? 2%? Let's see. Microsoft phone. Let's see. What percent of the market is Microsoft in phones? 2%. 2%. That was back in 2013. 2016, 1%. 2023, Windows has 90.89% OS X operating system market share. They have a 90% market share. Okay. 90% market share. Microsoft Mobile market share falls below 1%. Yeah, they're less than 1%. Less than 1%. Internet isn't good enough for streaming only services besides TV, and probably won't be in the next decade. Sure, but you also have to look at it. Not everyone used to own a television set. Not everyone owns a 4K TV, right? Lots of people don't own the certain things, but yet technology and stuff still moves forward. Sure, the streaming service is not up to snuff yet where people will go all streaming. But you know what happens? A percentage of the market goes into streaming. The places that can get streaming until the rest of the people can catch up. Hence why there's still consoles. Hence why there's still things like that. But the people that are keeping up with the Joneses, they move forward, they progress, and they keep going forward. And exponentially gets faster and faster and faster. Right? Look how much better the internet's gotten over the last 5 years compared to the first 30 years. Do you know what I mean? When I was in school, I had Internet Explorer. No, what was it? Was it? It was Netscape, I think it was. Which one was the one with the sailboat? What the hell was that? Okay, and the internet was garbage, but we thought it was immaculate back then. Was it Netscape, Buck? Thank you. Right. I remember going to college and they had computers now. And we could do all these things, right? The Netscape Navigator, exactly. That was like 1996, 1997. Okay? And you look at what the internet was before that, from the 70s up until that point. And then from that point in 1997 up till, I don't know, 2010. And now you look at what's happening with social media and all this stuff. If you talk the same way we did back then, go, well, it's just not going to catch up. It's still far off. Exponentially, it's gotten faster, better, more efficient. I remember that when I was in school 20 years ago, to get one, what was it called? A T1 line. A T1 line when I was in college was unprecedented, okay? And now they're so far beyond how much data can go through, okay? Exponentially faster, exponentially more growth. Did you say sunk cost fallacy? I think, is that what it is, Stubby? Where if someone, you're throwing money at something, you're losing money in, right? But they keep it there because it in the bigger picture, it's doing well for the bigger part of the business. I forget. Is it sunk cost fallacy? Isn't it good enough for streaming only services besides that? Is that what you meant? Making stuff more modern audiences are new uppers for gamers. Okudapapa says current estimate shows that 1.4 billion devices runs Windows 10 and 11. That doesn't include the XP 8.1, which still have part of the market in different countries. Sony has only 30 million PlayStation 5s. Right. They don't need phone. They have the cloud that they can go onto any phone. Sure, but devices is what's on their hand. Having xCloud and Game Pass that can access anybody that has a device, phone, tablet, computer, television. They have over 3 billion devices that they can get their thing on. I can still hear the dial-up. Yeah. I remember when we went from dot matrix printer to laserjet color printer. Blew my effing mind. Yeah. Oh God, I remember that sound, and you have to rip off the paper, the little strands off the thing. Buck. God, I remember that. You would have a box up on top of your desk that would feed in, and then you would have another box at the bottom that would just feed in, and you would just tear off the paper. Holy Christ! I remember when they had wireless printers, and you were just like, "What the hell is this?" Right? AOL Online. Yeah. You've got mail. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you guys are looking at it going, oh, there's no way, we're still far off from... I could literally stream a video game. Okay? Stream a video game. Is it the best? No, it's not the best. But You could stream movies, right? Remember, movies weren't streamable back in the day. You had to buy the DVD. Now you're watching full-fledged 4K movies. You're watching YouTube every single day, 4K videos. Okay? That's ridiculous. We're that frog in that pot that doesn't realize what's happening. We're just like, yeah, consoles are never going to happen. We're always going to have consoles. Exponential growth, man. Exponential. From the beginning of time to up to like when the internet was created is like thousands of years, and then from decades from when it was created to now is right. We've done everything that happened in the last 30 years is now exponentially going up in like 2 years. Definitely a phenomenon. Hereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy of course of action because they've invested heavily in it, even when it's clearly that they abandon it would be more beneficial. Right. The definition. Yeah. So they're in it and they're like, even if we lose money, it's viable to keep that in because of whatever they're making on the back end of it. Whatever it takes to put it in, right? I still use AOL. Remember the Dreamcast started with the dial-up modem? Yeah. I remember when I played SOCOM on PlayStation, I had dial-up. And my mom would pick up the phone and it would kick me off the match. The phenomenon where a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy of course of action because they have invested heavily in it, and when with clear abandonment would be more beneficial. Right. Thank you, Krubsy. Yeah, Stubby already did that. You heard about the Marvel's Avengers former co-creator apologize? Yeah, I did, Water. And I was just like, what is that? What, like, thanks for coming out and apologizing. What am I supposed to feel better? Right? That just justifies everything that I've said about that game when it came out. And all the people that defended that game of why like that whole thing pissed me off when I read that article, Water. TDLDR, you put $200 into something, you're less likely to leave with it. You put $20 into it. Right. As a standalone thing, you're losing it. But the bigger picture, right? The information, like you might not be making money, but you're getting something else out of it, though. Right? Like, for instance, the best way I can describe it is we have a store, right, on the property. We have a farm store. And when anything is on BOGO, right, or anything is on sale, you're losing money on that, right? You're still making your margins. Sometimes you're not. You just want to get out the door, right? And that stuff is bringing people in. So you're losing money off of that, but you're bringing people in and they're going to purchase something else. Right, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, sure. The fruit that's on sale right now is we're losing money on it, but we already made the profit and margin off of that from the beginning. But now we're losing money on it. But that's bringing people in. They're like, oh, that's on sale. I'm going to show up, and then they start buying other things. There's also an estimated 3 billion Android users and 1 billion iOS users. Go Android. Microsoft gets their streaming app working with 5G or 6G. Microsoft has a huge market. This is why Candy Crush won. Yeah, this is why I've said from the very beginning, Kuda, it's not about Call of Duty. It's about the mobile market. It's about the mobile market. Tech changes every 6 months now, but we will reach a point where AI starts reproducing and getting smarter versions of itself. Yeah, okay, well, that's a perfect example, Water, right? The Chat GPT. Okay. Remember when robots were so far away, and now there's a program which we've done on here, okay, where all of a sudden the art programs are now making art programs. Like you could type into chat GPT or GPT, I think it's called, okay, and you could tell that to go do something else with another robot, with another AI program, and then it can write it for you. Okay? It's crazy. And every time someone uses it, thousands and millions of people start putting data into it. It's learning exponentially faster, right? Same thing that goes with Tesla, right? If one person has a Tesla and they're driving around a city, that's only one person, and the car's mapping out the roads. But if more people buy a Tesla, Now there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100,000 million people mapping out the entire thing. Hence why Tesla's not a car company. It's an AI company. Hence why it's getting really good at driving around the roads, and it's exponentially getting better and faster. Yeah, they apologize. Yeah, they apologize. Never says apologies to us for what they have in the game you made. Exactly, Jesse. Like, sorry, this was a shit fest of a game. We're sorry that we didn't put our efforts towards the game and try to sell you a half-ass game. Apologize. That's it. That's it, Krebsy. Loss leader strategy involves selling a product or service at the price that is not profitable, but is sold to attract new customers. That's it. The loss leader. That's the one. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for looking that up. That's it. It's not the sunk cost fallacy. It's the loss leader. That's what it is. Thank you. It makes sense because the mobile market is easy money. I know you've been saying it. I'm just pulling numbers to make this. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And I appreciate that, Okuda. I appreciate that. Only if Disney needs the AI to make Star Wars, right? We might as well. We might as well just go to Chat GPT and ask it to write the next Star Wars script. It's crazy. Water says it's crazy. It soon will have a movie written by AI. It already happened. Already happened, Water. It'll be amazing because it will appeal to all other scenes as moviegoers. Here's the best part. You can literally have the AI write the movie. You can literally have the AI make the storyboards of the movie. And you can literally have the movie be done by the AI to make the previews, which can be animated, okay, and make the movie itself. You do not need a human at all anymore, right? It's not as good right now, but that's today. Let's come back a year from now and see where it's at. Right? And this is the thing, right? We're getting way off, right? Microsoft, I'm telling you right now, we've said it on GXG week after week, month after month. This deal is going through. Microsoft is so sure it's going through. This is why they're making deals. They're not making deals to be like, hey, look, this is Nintendo's on board. No, they're making deals because they know this deal's going through. In one way, shape, or form, okay, this deal will go through and Microsoft will get it. Now, after this deal goes through, does the FTC, does the European Commission, do they change the rules? Okay, I think they're trying to stall them long enough to change the rules before they buy them. Okay, but as of right now, the rules state that they can buy this company and they're just trying to prolong it. Once this deal goes through and Microsoft owns Activision Blizzard, the companies will try to change the way it goes, which will be funny because at that time, if Activision Blizzard King is bought by Microsoft, they already have the lead. And no other company after the fact can buy a company that has so much. So like right now, Embracer Group has how many companies does Embracer Group have? Embracer Group studios? How many studios do they have? Company number of employees has 132 game development studios. 132 game development studios. Right? 15,000 employees, and those Embracer Groups itself employs 45 people. Okay? So they have all of these things. Now, obviously, they could sell each piece off if they wanted to. Okay? But they could sell the whole company. They could be like, Embracer Group, we're going to sell the whole thing. Are they allowed to sell the whole thing? Right now, they could. But once the laws get changed after this Activision Blizzard deal, Embracer Group would have to meal piece off their businesses, right? But then certain companies in that group, let's just say there was a Activision within that Embracer Group company, one company wouldn't be able to be purchased because it would be too big of a market share or one of the most popular games. You see what I'm saying? All of them, right? Everyone's freaking out about Microsoft owning how many studios? Right? Let's see. How many studios? How many studios does Xbox own? 23. Is that correct? No, they have 38, don't they? I thought they had 38. Or is that 38 after Activision goes through? Puts Xbox Game Studios at 30 different studios. 30, I think it was 32. Okay. Right? 32, I think, is what they have. Like, they only have 32. Embracer Group's got 100. What did we say? 152? Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? 152. 132 studios. Yeah, it is 32, Krebsy. Some of the articles were looked up real fast. It was older articles. So they have 32. And then with Activision Blizzard, I believe they pick up an additional 12 or 14, right? Which makes it like 46 or 48. But the 32 is multiple times larger than Embracer? Sure. Now. Right? Activision at one time was a small company with a small percentage. Right? Take-Two was a small company at one time until they made a game that made them bigger and bigger and bigger. Sure. If you have two studios out of the 132 studios of Embracer Group that all of a sudden become the next Respawn or the next EA or the next Activision, right? Now they have a powerhouse with 132 studios. Like, Rockstar was big and Take-Two got the bottom, picked them up. We're talking now. They aren't going to give us a company shit about the potential being larger than the future. That's exactly what they're giving. They're giving shit to Microsoft because of the potential of where they could go. That's exactly what they're doing. They're like, well, if you buy this, the potential of 20 years from now is you're going to be the leader. That's exactly what they're doing. It's funny you still have fanboys as an adult with a job. I buy games based on if I like the game, not the system. Exclusives are irrelevant in my opinion, but hey, whatever floats their boat. Water, I said this on the podcast last week with Dark and Lono, right? We were talking about Game Pass, and I was like, I'm not an Xbox. You guys think I'm an Xbox fanboy because that's the system I play mostly on, right? Right? But I play games where I want to play games. Now, obviously, I don't have the income to go buy a PlayStation 5, right? So I can't go out and just buy a PlayStation 5, so I can't afford to get the system so I can go buy the new games I want to play. But I would buy a Sony PlayStation 5 to play God of War, to play Horizon Forbidden West, right? But really, 30, we all know you're a pony, and we all know it, right? Sure, right? Like, see, I don't even get upset if someone calls me a fanboy of the stuff because I know I play where games are. I play on PC, I play on Xbox, I play on Switch, I play on PlayStation, right? I never bought Xbox for an exclusive. I bought a Switch for an exclusive. I bought a Nintendo Switch because of Ultimate Alliance 3. I bought a PlayStation. Well, actually, I didn't even buy the PlayStation. I was gifted a PlayStation because of Sony Spider-Man, right? My parents and my brother bought me a PlayStation 4 bundle because of Spider-Man. They knew that I liked Spider-Man so much that they bought me a PlayStation 4 so I could play the game, right? Right? I've never bought an Xbox, ever, for an exclusive game. Sony is scared of irrelevancy. I mean, I'm telling you, I still think that if Sony doesn't make changes and continue doing what they're doing, they would go away of Sega Dreamcast, of the Atari. And Xbox would do the exact same thing. They could go away, right? Nintendo's a staple. Nintendo has made their mark, and they're never going away. Sony and Xbox, with the wrong move, could be gone and never be in existence again, because Amazon or Google, I mean, look at Google. Stadia came and went, gone, blink of an eye, goodbye, 2 years. Right? Xbox has been around for 22 years now. 22 years. PlayStation's been around for like 30, 35 years, something like that. But they come in 92? When did PlayStation come out? PlayStation 1. '94, right? So we're 30 years away. We're 1 year away from 30 years for PlayStation. First God of War is on PC already, not the second God of War. I used to buy an Xbox for all games, PlayStation for exclusives, and never bought a Nintendo. Talking about Ragnarok, I have the other one on PC as well. I used to buy a PlayStation to get the latest God of War, and then went to the trade it in. Now I have a PC, so I have zero reasons to get an Xbox again. But now I have a PlayStation 5 for their exclusives. Right. You know what's funny? My son loves the Nintendo Switch. I would say that's his favorite system. But he plays more games on the S because of Game Pass. Right? Loves the game quality of, because when he plays a game on the Switch, he like plays it all the way through, like beats the game. When he plays on the Xbox Series S, he downloads a game, plays it for a couple of minutes to an hour, couple hours, maybe a couple days, okay, and then gets bored and deletes it, and then puts another game on. That's the difference. He doesn't get that way with the Xbox, or I'm sorry, with the Nintendo. Nintendo, okay, he's on there. Nintendo was founded in 1889. Well, that's not, the gaming company wasn't made back then. But yeah, I know what you're saying, Akuda. Krebsy says yet. What do you mean yet? Because of the Nintendo? No, I don't think, every game that we buy him for Nintendo, he plays, beats it, and then puts it down. Every game I get him on Game Pass, he doesn't play it very long at all. It's like a saloon door, just constantly changing games. It's about good games, man. These damn studios, and about the unfinished games, so they can live service and release shit for money after the fact. It comes on, yeah. And Stadia, yeah, gone. Vagoted. N64 was very amazing. N64 is probably one of my favorite systems. I don't know, though. I have to admit, the original Nintendo was like a workhorse, man. I played so much of that. The Super NES was good, too. Those are good systems. I got gifted a Switch, and that's a paperweight. There's a couple of good games on there. There's a couple of good games on there that you could play, al dente. It's an ad thing with Game Pass. There's just so damn much to choose from. You're like, the game is good, but I'm about to this one over here. I look at Game Pass is like your Steam library, right? Like, people have so much backlog with their Steam library. They like buy games that are on sale, whatever. They put them on. They get them for real cheap. They have like 30, 40 games on the backlist, and you never play any of them. You want to, but you never do it. That's what Game Pass is. I did it the other day, right? I turned it on, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll download this. I'll play this. I'll do this. I looked at it and went, nah, I don't want to. I don't have the urge. Plus, I'm a believer in free market, which says that the company earns a monopoly, so be it. Did you say something else, Travis, that I missed? Did I miss something else that you wrote, or you just that in there? You use Game Pass, you evil demon, you. I'm telling you right now, I am not a rich person. So Game Pass is my best friend when it comes to my 8-year-old. He just started playing the Hot Wheels Unleashed game that just came out there. Right? He started playing that. He started playing City Skylines Remastered again. He's playing Skate 3 on Game Pass. He's playing Farm Simulator 22. What else is he playing? He's playing Forza Horizon 5. He downloaded the other Forza Motorsports game, the last year's Forza Sports, or whatever the last one was. He started playing that. We played Minecraft Dungeons the other day. He played Madden 21, his first football game. He tried it out. There's so many games. He just downloads and plays them. He's like, I'm good. That's a good example, though, Water. If Ultimate Alliance came out on PlayStation, like the next Ultimate Alliance was only on PlayStation, I would buy a PlayStation. That would be a game that I buy a system for just because of the exclusives. If it's on Xbox, I'll buy it on Xbox. Why? Because I already have the system. Oh, Dreamlight Valley, Tony. Yeah, I played it. My son had no interest in it, but I played it. I thought it was interesting. It was good. I played it for about 2 weeks, and then I put it down. See, that's my point. Most Xbox owners I know are family men. I say it's great, but as a single male gamer, I don't have family, so I got a PlayStation 5. Actually, a perfect example. Now that you just said that, right, Travis? It's interesting to see that Nintendo is a family system. Everything about Nintendo is a family system because young kids can play it, adults can play it. It's an all-around system. You can play multiple player couch co-op on the thing. It's just a family system. Xbox, I didn't even think about this, really. I did, but I didn't. Up to this point, has always been trying to compete with gamers. But really, it's the Game Pass is a family-associated type of thing. There's so many games on there that you can play, and there's a lot of co-op games on there as well, like couch co-op games and whatnot, right? And if you don't have couch co-op games, there are games a lot up there for co-op games as far as if people have multiple systems you can play and whatnot with each other. So it's very easy for someone to, especially if I had to look, right? If I had to look, let's say I didn't own a system. I was a brand new parent, knew nothing about, and I started asking around, right? I have like a 7, 8-year-old, right? I would either buy them a Nintendo Switch or I would buy them an Xbox Series S, right? With Game Pass. Because one, the price point. The consoles themselves are cheaper than a PlayStation 5. PlayStation, their words, not mine, wants gamers. They're for people that are older, if that's teenagers to young adults to adults, right? It's a higher price system. They got exclusive games, and that's what it is. They're going for the high ticket price item in this world. Nintendo is going for the get them young, keep them going. And Xbox is trying to break into that market. If I had to choose between a Nintendo and an Xbox as my first system, that's what I would pick. I wouldn't pick a PlayStation 5 if I'm buying a system for my children, right? Because PlayStation, those games that they make, the first-party titles, are not meant for kids. But the games that are on Nintendo, now Nintendo's cheap, but the games are expensive. They don't ever really go on sale that much, and when they go on sale, but Xbox is at this price point where you get it for like $250, $300, and then you get Game Pass on top of that, and you have a whole bunch of games to play, and there's a lot of family games on there, a lot of co-op games on there, right? I don't know, man. It's just a really good deal, and a lot of people, as of right now, don't really look at that as a value, because most of the people in this chat, the people that are on YouTube, the people that are on Twitch are gamers, right? Majority of are gamers, and they know about the high frames per second. They want the high fidelity. They want, you know what I mean? They want the big systems. They want the 60 frames per second. They want the 4K. They want the good stuff. They want the good games. That's this market, but this is such a small percent of the market of the bigger picture of gamers. He says, man, my little girls love watching me play a Disney game that just dropped on their other 4 and 2, but they love telling me where to go. I downloaded Atomic Heart, and I haven't yet to fire it up. Only did it because it was on Game Pass. I haven't downloaded it yet. I was going to try it out. We might play it tonight. I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to it. It doesn't have a spark for me at all. Unreal 5 engine, Ultimate Alliance 4. That would be fantastic, Water. I mean, it's about about that, Travis, about also what you like, because if you are still single, you didn't have kids, I just love Halo, Gears, Fable, and never got into God of War or Spooderman. I would love that's one game. I don't like remasters, Water, but I would take a remaster of Ultimate Alliance 1, 2, and 3. 100%. I have a Switch, but man, it's been months since I played anything of it. I have Gundam games. I love the system, but it's just mess around gaming. Sure. You would probably more beneficial from like a Steam Deck than you would a Switch, though, Travis, right? Exactly. Sony is saying, like, look, we have a higher tier, and you got to remember this, that they have more console sales because the average gamer is 34, right? The average gamer is 34. A lot of people that have PlayStations, and we were talking about the other day, Sony PlayStation is a status symbol, right? It's a status symbol. If you have PlayStation, you're like, oh, you got a little bit of money. You like a little stuff, right? That's what it is. It's a status symbol. It's got great games. I'll never deny that Sony has great games. I wish I had it to play their games. This is why I'm not an Xbox fanboy. I'm not a PlayStation fanboy. I'm not a Nintendo Switch fanboy, right? I just like games. I like where the games are. Imagine Nintendo being the Games Pass now, the Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers probably that's what Microsoft wants you to buy. Game Pass is Nintendo wants to do, but Mario Kart to make Game Pass sales. Right, Jesse. Right. Just not for all then. Halo 2 and then 3 were the best series in multiplayer and campaign. I'm hoping they return to form. I think Halo's suffering from what Marvel's suffering from right now. Just you're so far into Halo, right? You're just kind of like over it. You're just like, I'm done with it. Status symbol, I'll raise you a 4090. Come on, Sony boys. What you got? Now you know what the PC Master Race. Well, that's also a small percentage, though, right, Akuta Papa? Right? People that are PC gamers, right, is big. But PC gamers leading the forefront of keeping up with the Joneses is such a small percentage, right? That is the elitists, right? People that have like a 4080, a 4090, 4080, right? The TIs or whatever. Those are the people that are like connoisseurs. Companies need to appeal to average gamers, not the fringe outliers. All of Xbox is suffering. What do you mean by that, Krebsy? You're talking about Game Pass with the quality of games. Is that what you're bringing up? $30.90 gang. Oh, it's so last year. I have a 3060. It took me 7 years to buy a new graphics card. Games are great when you made it for PC first, but ports seem to be trash and have a ton of bugs. Yeah, I was actually trying to do a different story today. I was trying to do research last night and this morning to find how many games came out that were like glitchy and buggy and broke in the last like 2 years. Right. Only a 3090? What a noob. Yeah, there's something about the simplicity for me, right? Maybe it's because I grew up on Atari and Nintendo that I just like putting a cartridge in, a CD in, and just playing a game, right? And I used to play all PC games when I was younger, right? Me and Sarge used to play Summer Games and King's Quest and Police Quest and all on Apple IIc, right? We were more computer gamers, PC gamers back in the day than we were console gamers, right? We always started playing games on all different systems. I remember I had a Gateway. I had a Gateway PC back when I was in high school, and I had a DVD player in it. That was my first DVD player, right? I had I think a 16-inch, 17-inch monitor, which was huge back then, right? Big tube one, where the monitor was about like this freaking big. It was heavy. It was like a brick. Okay, loved it. Okay, used to play StarCraft. Used to play Siphon Filter. Used to play all these different games. Syndicate Wars, Warcraft. What else did I play? Mafia. What else did we play? Right, we used to play tons and tons of PC games. But there's something simplistic about it. I don't have any driver updates or anything like that. It's just simple. The simplicity of a console is great. I love my PC, max graphics, high frames, and all that. But the games pull me back to console, though. Yeah, my thing is, every time I turn my computer on, I always have like a graphic update, and something goes wrong. I have no sound. I have to update this. Console is just so simple. You just turn it on, and it's there. Leo says, I'm never upgrading my graphics card again. Current 2070s. I'm happy just get the console now. Much more affordable and won't have to deal with the issues of bad initial PC releases. Right, that's another thing, right? Like if you want to keep up with the Joneses, right, per se. Commander Keen, that was a terrible game, Brain. If you want to keep up with the Joneses, every 2 years you got to update your PC. Every 2 years, right? But if you want to keep up with the Joneses on Xbox, you just buy the next game. Xbox 360 lasted for like 11 years. Xbox One's like 12 years now, right? Oh, Doom. We used to play Battlefield 2042, Doom, Wolfenstein. What else did we play? God, there's so many games. I can't remember them all. Quake. Ultima Online. TIE Fighter. Sarge could just rip off a whole bunch of games that we owned. We had tons and tons. I used to love the simulation type of games as well. Krebsy says, Fable is rumored to be having trouble. Halo is crap. Xbox without Bethesda wouldn't have anything for 2023. Rare isn't the same Rare when they got bought out by Game Pass on Xbox and has its hit saturation. 18-month stuff is hurting, killing studios. No Xbox games has been nominated for Game of the Year ever. We will also see that the rumor to be pushing games out unfinished lines, Starfield, etc. Didn't they get best racing game though? I guess Game of the Year is not. It's not Game of the Year, but didn't they win like best racing game? I mean, that's a separate Game of the Year category type of thing. Best racing game, but I don't know. Don't quote me. Yeah, sometimes waiting for day one patch to make some of these games playable on PC is whack. All the above, some of the reasons I don't think they should get Activision Blizzard. But here's the question though, Krebsy. Should anybody? That's the question. Should anybody be able to buy Activision Blizzard King? Or just not Microsoft? I think that's the big question, right? No, you're saying nobody should buy them. So do you think Bobby Kotick just eats it, breaks up the company and sells them separate? Because that's not happening. That's not going to happen. It's worse now that the devs seem to think that everyone owns a must-own freaking $14.90 and play the game Hogwarts Legacy, taxing my PC to hell. Love the game, but man. Well, that's the thing, right? Whatever graphic card is out, they have to make sure that it runs at those specs. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't you be more pissed if you had the best graphics card and it didn't run on your graphics card? Which leaves everybody... You got to remember, every graphics card is like a standalone console. So on PC, lower consoles, lower graphic cards are going to have issues. And that's why I don't like it. That's why I'm like, well, if I could run it on the lowest setting possible on my PC because of the graphics card I have, I'd rather get it for a console. You know? Only way Activision Blizzard gets bought is piecemeal, and that will never happen. Right. And I agree with you. It would only get sold if it's piecemeal, and that's never going to happen if it gets piecemealed. Meaning, Activision is going to get it. I'm sorry. Microsoft is going to buy them, and then they're going to change the rule after the fact. Nobody should buy... If Microsoft gets it, we riot. Hogwarts Legacy is getting a patch for PC next week to improve performance. The patch they did for Xbox actually made it worse for me. I don't know why. I didn't have any issues beforehand. The patch went through and I have worse problems now. Yeah, but I have to see the prices. Why make the game run on blood money? Hey, do you have 2 kidneys? Right? You can sell a kidney. It's ridiculous. Hogwarts on PC is like you used the ancient magic on the game and made it a statue. If Microsoft gets anything other than shut down, we riot. That's... But I think that's the mentality, though, Travis. I know you're joking, right? But I think that's the mentality, right? People are like, I don't want Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard. They don't care about anybody else. Right now, they're just like, they don't want Microsoft to buy it. Whatever that is. I have 2 kidneys, and I'm reserving those for my kids. Well, that's good. You whisper to them, I could have bought a 4090. Instead, I'm keeping my kidneys for you. That's the ultimate guilt trip. You're playing on your PC, the graphics are stuttering, your son or daughter comes in and is like, man, that's very stuttering. You'd be like, shut your mouth. I could get a 4090, but this kidney's yours. would care less if Microsoft goes tits up. Yeah, it's not going to happen, though. Microsoft is not going tits up. Ever. Right? You'll see Xbox maybe go under. Maybe Microsoft decides to go, you know what? We're done with Microsoft. We're done with Xbox. Microsoft is not going anywhere. Microsoft is not going anywhere. What are they, the third largest company in the world? Largest company in the world. List of largest companies. Let's see here. Walmart, Amazon, State Grid, China National Petroleum. Let me see. Where does Microsoft fall in? Microsoft is 33rd on the overall list. 33rd on the overall list in the world. Let me look what it is in the United States. Largest company in the U.S. Let's see. Largest company in the U.S. Microsoft is 11th overall in the U.S., but that's by employees. That's employees. Let's see. Revenue. Holy Christ. Walmart, Amazon. Walmart, 572 millions. No, that's not. What is this? Largest companies. Below are the largest companies by revenue of 2022, most of the fiscal year of 2021, according to Fortune 500. And you have Walmart, Amazon, Apple, CVS, United Health Group, ExxonMobil, Berkshire, McKesson, Microsoft, Costco, Signia, AT&T, Cardinal Health, Chevron, Home Depot, Walgreens, Verizon Communication, JP Morgan, and General Motors is the top 25. I skipped a couple there. There you go. Largest American companies by market cap. By market cap, Apple is at $2.3 trillion. $2.3 trillion. Check this out. Okay. $2.3 trillion. Microsoft's at 1.8 trillion. Google's at 1.1 trillion, and Amazon is just below $1 trillion. Right? Can you see when Phil Spencer says the competition is not Sony? The competition is Amazon and Google. Like, look at this. Right? Where is? Let's see. Where's Sony? Is Sony on here? Sony is not even in the top 100. And the last one here is US Bank Corp at $72 billion. Here's the next 100. I don't see. Is this American companies or is this everywhere? Oh, it's gotta be. I didn't look at the top. Hold on a second. Is this largest American companies? Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Sony's got to be up there. They're worth in the 57 million, I think, or billion. Okay, here is world. Here's the world one. Yes, Saudi Aramco is number 2. Microsoft is number 3. Google 4. Amazon 5. Let's see where Sony is now. Samsung's number 22. Walt Disney's 52. Sony's still not on the top 100. Sony's at 134 with 103 billion. 103 billion compared to almost 2 trillion. That's nuts. Sony's at 180 billion. Just admit, the only people who buy Xbox are doing it as a pity buy. I don't think it's a pity buy. I mean, I guess you could say it's a pity buy. No, I know it was it was the wrong stat there, Al Dente. I found it. Samsung and LG took all of Sony's appliances and TV market. What is was it Avatar Lego sets came out? Want to buy and hold? I don't want to invest in Legos. I don't want to do that, especially in this household. Legos get opened. Legos destroyed. Travis says, I scrolled back up. So far, no company has benefited from Xbox buying them and never will. Is that true? No company has benefited. Well, that's not true. Bungie benefited in the beginning when they first made Halo. Right? A small company that made a real-time strategy game, which later became Halo Wars, was what Halo was. And then Microsoft picked them up and they turned Halo into the first-person shooter. So that would be a false statement. Also think funny, Microsoft says, rough quote, it would be idiots to not put COD on the largest platform, then proceeds to make Starfield and Redfall exclusive. It's a different thing, though, Krebsy. That's different. That's different, right? Bethesda, what they paid for with Bethesda compared to what Call of Duty and Activision Blizzard is two completely different things. Think of it as, you know, every deal for Game Pass is different, right? Is completely different. What they had with Starfield to be exclusive for this and other games being exclusive brings people into their house. Where Call of Duty is so large that there's 30 million, 40 million people playing Call of Duty. Max, if Starfield was out, max, you would sell 15, 20 million copies total across the board, right? Call of Duty is just this constant feed of stuff every year pumping out. Bethesda is like once every decade. Yeah, Fallout 3 made 12.4 million copies sold. Right? Elder Scrolls Online, as of 2021, 18 million copies. Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, made 30 million copies, but how many times has it been sold over? Bethesda isn't Sony's staple. Never was. Bethesda was much more of a PC staple because of modding community, right? Microsoft wants to make Game Pass for Starfield and Redfall right into their Game Pass. Right, well, that's the process of it, right? I'm fine with the new IP being exclusive, but existing games like Fallout or Elder Scrolls is just stupid and dumb. But I don't think ESO is not exclusive. It's on PC and Xbox. Isn't Elder Scrolls on Sony as well? Isn't Skyrim on all platforms as well? Isn't Fallout 76 on all platforms? right? Yeah, Fallout 76 is on PlayStation. Fallout 76 is on PC. Fallout 76 is on Xbox. Yeah, it's on everything. Yeah. There's no here's the thing, right? Starfield is a brand new IP. It's not out yet. They purchased it 2 years ago, right? They've been in the thing. They're making that game exclusive. All the other games that they've come out with up to this point, Bethesda has been on all platforms. Like if I buy a restaurant and then I change the menu, that's my prerogative, right? I bought it. The restaurant's been there for decades before. Okay, and it sold all this other stuff, but now I bought the restaurant and I want to change the restaurant. That's because I own it now. That's what happens. Bethesda games would still land on Game Pass, but then they could sell, let's say, 4 million copies on Sony for $70 and make $280 million alone, and pay for the game's development just off Sony. Sure, but again, the thing we talked about earlier, getting a product, putting it on your system, right? They're still going to make sales, okay? But the people that want to play that game, getting them into Game Pass and getting that $10 or, if it's just $10 and that 20 million people pay it for Game Pass, that's 20 additional million people that might pick it up, that might play it. More people come on. They're trying to sell Game Pass. They don't care about the sales of the game anymore. $280 million to me and you is a gigantic piece of money. But for them, in the bigger picture, it's a drop. It's a drop. They make $300 million a month from Game Pass. Besides, Starfield looks like a crappy No Man's Sky. I think it'll be better as far as story driven. I mean, look, it's going to be a good story driven RPG. I do think it's going to have its limitations as far as it's going to feel boring and stale, like No Man's Sky did. And the difference between No Man's Sky and what Starfield's doing is it's still going to be stale and boring. You're going to be on an empty planet looking around, and you're not going to find anything unless they change that up. You're going to 1,000 planets, and there's not going to be everything on 1,000 planets. You could change the restaurant, however you want, but you can't get pissed when nobody eats there. Sure, but is Microsoft getting pissed that no one's eating there? You see what I'm saying? The people that are pissed off are the people that are saying that that are making exclusive. Well, if you're a person that doesn't like exclusives, then you shouldn't be playing on Sony. You see what I'm saying? What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. You can't be on a Sony. You can't be a Sony fanboy and say it's not fair that the exclusives are there, and then I'm not buying an Xbox because of exclusives. Meanwhile, you're on a Sony PlayStation getting exclusives. You see what I'm saying? Selling on Sony also means you have to profit share. Exclusive means more money from Microsoft. Sure. And you guys remember, digital, they're also getting more money off of that as well, because there's not going to be hard copies on the shelves and shipping and containers and whatever else. Okay, you put COD on Game Pass to sell it, but that would still land on Sony. Extra money is extra money. Sure, but they also might not let COD on Game Pass, right? All depends on what their deal is or whatnot. But let's say it is on Game Pass, right? If you're a person that plays Call of Duty every single year on Sony, would you purchase, because a lot of people, you've said this before in the past, Krebsy, that people buy PlayStation just to play COD, right? Would you purchase if you were a person in the market, would you buy a PlayStation now to play COD, or would you buy an Xbox to play COD? I think people that are Sony fanboys would stay with Sony, and then they would pay $70 for that game, where somebody else would buy Xbox and they would pay $1 or $10 or $15 to play that game. Good story-driven Xbox can use those words together in a sentence like that. If they make Elder Scrolls 6, nobody will buy it. But that's the funny part. Nobody has to buy it because it's on Game Pass. See, you're still thinking that they're trying to sell games. They're not selling games. They're selling a service. Sony systems, good. Xbox systems, bad. Fire, bad. Water, good. Basic facts 101. Can't wait for the Xbox president to come out and say Starfield isn't going to make or break us. I can't see Microsoft changing anything with Fallouts and other games making it exclusive for only one Xbox console, and Sony never let that happen. Well, they have no choice now, Jesse. The next Fallout 5 will 100% be exclusive for Xbox and PC. It'll be on the Microsoft platform. Sony fans will not have Fallout 5. 100%. Especially since that game is being 100% developed under Microsoft. Right? Elder Scrolls 6, you ain't getting that on PlayStation. I'm sorry, I backed the racehorse while Xbox is a miniature pony. But you're making it about Sony versus Microsoft as you as a fan. Like, you don't have to buy the stuff, right? Microsoft is going to put what they want. They're the owners of the games, just like, right? What about it? What about this happens in a world? What if PlayStation loses the rights, right? They don't pay for any more Sony Spider-Man. Hence why they're moving away. And let's say after this next Spider-Man game, it's done. That's the last Spider-Man game. And all of a sudden, now they make a deal. Sony, the film industry or Marvel, whatever, makes a deal with Xbox to get it up across more platforms. Because 5 years from now, there'll be more people playing on Game Pass than there will be on PlayStation itself, right? PlayStation only has, let's say it has 100 million units out there, but it only sells 20 million units total. And that's it. Where if they put it on Xbox now, there's 50 million people that potentially can buy it. You see what I'm saying? Money talks, bullshit walks. Right? They could lose and make it exclusive for something else. It's funny to me that people that are on Sony PlayStation bitch about exclusives, but yet the reason they like Sony PlayStation is because of exclusives. How much for basic cable TV package right now, chat? Anyone? At launch, maybe a year later. Games as a service. I see. What you're saying is Xbox isn't selling games; they're selling the bodies. Their bodies sounds about right for the hookers of gaming. I mean, where do you watch your television right now? Are you still going to a DVD rental place, or do you rent from Netflix, or do you rent from Amazon? Or do you rent from Hulu, right? Or are you paying for YouTube, right? Like, where are you watching your television? Where are you watching your entertainment from? People didn't like Netflix in the past because they were watching television. Well, now television's not television anymore. Now they're services. I only have PlayStation 5. It's because all my boys are on PlayStation 5. And that's why most people buy systems. Where your friends go. No, I'm talking about PlayStation 5 as a superior system, Xbox text-wise. Well, that's been proven false. That's been proven false. That's just your subjective thinking of that the tech is there. There's things that Xbox is better, and there's things that PlayStation's better. That's just your fanboyism talking. Nobody cares about PlayStation versus Xbox war. It's dumb anyways. Exactly, Jesse. Console war is over. Sony won. Xbox lost again. Well, technically, Sony's lost because Xbox is, or actually PlayStation's actually losing to Nintendo. Nintendo actually has the most sales. So that's kind of sad, huh? I use Sony streaming. That's it. Well, that's interesting. So are you watching on your PlayStation right now? You're not using YouTube? How are you watching me right now if you only use Sony streaming? I'm not complaining about exclusives. I think exclusives have their use. I'm using Microsoft on logic against them, kind of in a serious manner, kind of in a joking manner. Once Microsoft establishes $49.95 a month complete gaming service, the effective double the monthly income, and that starts to show the snowball. Oh, I don't think they need to go that high, Sarge. I think 25, 30 would be like the max they go. They could have different tiers, but that's where the family plan comes in, right? What does Xbox do better? I'm actually curious. As far as what? Spec wise, you said spec wise. Digital Foundry has said that certain games run better on Xbox than they do on PlayStation when third-party games come out. There's individual games. Certain games are better on Sony. Other games are better on Xbox as far as the amount of power that's in the systems tech-wise. See, I'm not defending Xbox. You're saying that Sony's just a better system, and I'm saying, well, it's not because they're both the same. Certain things run better over here, and certain things run better over there. Basic cable's around 75 to 100, so $59 for all in-game is a deal. Yeah, but at the same time, Sarge, you have to remember other people are looking at it. They're going, well, how high can we go? And what's the first thing someone's going to drop if they don't want it? If they put themselves too high, then they push themselves out of the market. They don't have to go high. They just want the bulk of it. They can make it $10 is ad where ads come on. $20 or 15 is the ads, 20 is free, and 25 is the family plan type of thing. I still think Game Pass is barely profitable. Well, that's also false. It's 15% of the revenue. They are profitable. It's either profitable or not profitable, right? I talk about this with movies. You either make profit or you don't make profit. Once it makes its money back, it's made profit. Doesn't matter if it's 7 million or if it's 70 million. They're profitable. I think Game Pass is barely profitable, okay? For now, heading in the right direction. Xbox has more power than the PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 needs to run in a checkerboard. Xbox runs more games in true 4K. Well, there you go. Akuta Papa's got some knowledge there. Exactly, 30. I'm just saying that you just come out of my mouth. You're welcome. Series X is more powerful than the PlayStation 5. Xbox supports a full RDNA 2 spec. PlayStation 5 does not. Games being optimized for each system is on the developer. I have yet to see a game that's on PlayStation 5 and Xbox that runs better on Xbox. Maybe exists, but I've never seen it. Well, how could you see it if you don't own an Xbox? See, like stuff like that, Travis, doesn't make sense to me. You looking at someone else's stuff on TV, you're seeing it at a downscaled rate. But when you watch it in person, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. That is truly just a fanboy speaking out loud, saying, I've never seen it. Well, you don't own an Xbox. So how would you see the true capability of one system to the other? What do you think to believe the cost of Game Pass besides servers rental? I mean, I'm not sure what the cost would be. Like per person, how would you break that down, Sarge? I don't know. I would say the servers are the most expensive part. Right? I don't know what that would be though. I would have to do research on what servers cost and what percentage they usually charge and whatnot. Creature convinced me that they are going to be heavily overhauling to Game Pass and how Microsoft uses it. As far as what way, the amount of price they're going to be charging. Game Pass, once it's fully realized, is a major threat to Sony because Microsoft can access about 5.6 billion devices. It's only doing 100 to 200 million. Exactly, Akuta Papa. Exactly. And then we've talked about this for years on this show, right? On this stream, from our other channel to this. And I know Travis has only been here for a couple weeks, right? But we've always said that people are comparing Sony versus Xbox, where they're not even playing the same game anymore, right? Microsoft is playing a completely separate ballpark. Okay, Sony's still playing the old school console ways, where Microsoft and Xbox is playing a separate game completely, right? And Sony can win the console wars. Xbox has already said, go ahead. That's not where it lies. Our competition, and this is a smack in the face of Sony, years ago when they said this, when Phil Spencer came out and said they're not worried about Sony, they're worried about Amazon and Google, that's a smack in the face to Sony because they know they're not even competing anymore with them anymore. My friend has an Xbox. I played it once a week. Tekken 7 on PlayStation 4, Tekken 7 on Xbox. Best example I've got. That's not an example. You're comparing an Xbox, PlayStation 4. I mean, I don't understand. I own both consoles. Most third-party games feel smoother on the Xbox Series S compared to the PlayStation 5. If you have a 4K TV, true power of gaming systems, if you want to power just 4K TV. I'm talking about Microsoft's cost. Isn't much besides server space. Yeah, but I don't know what that costs. I could probably ask somebody. I have a person that could probably answer that question. Maybe I'll make a phone call and see what they charge or what it roughly would be. If I wouldn't pay full price or sale for a game, I wouldn't ever buy it. Making a game free doesn't make it interesting to me. It just makes it free. So you're saying, Travis, if I like putting this analogy out there, right? And I get what you're saying, right? If this glass of water, I tell you, is shipped from Antarctica, it's the freshest water, okay? I can charge you $20 a glass, okay? Even though the water that I got in this glass is from my tap, okay? So I have 2 glasses of water. One, I tell you, is free. Here, just have the water. And you're like, I don't really like that water. This glass is $20 a glass. It's shipped in from the glaciers of whatever. You would purchase this because you think this is better water than the other water, right? Is what you're saying. You think because something says it's better that it is better, and that's good marketing, right? And that's why you pay for it, okay? The system of PlayStation is a good system, and they market it because of the games that it has, and PlayStation does that very well with the exclusive games it has on the system. But comparing the system of PlayStation to comparing to the system of Xbox Series X, most times Xbox Series X outperforms PlayStation 5. But the games on Microsoft are not as good first-party title, and that's where the Sony always hangs it over their head. And they're like, well, these games are better than your games because we have exclusives. And then when Microsoft gets exclusives, PlayStation fanboys start crying because they're pissed off that they can't play those games. But yet, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. $20 of water, that might have accent disease in it from melting glaciers. Yum, exactly. If you prove to me it's worth $20, I would rather buy a better product. Right, if I prove it to you. $20 glacier water. God damn, that's good. That's fucking good water, man. Holy shit, that's good water. Taking orders right now. Glacier water. $20 a glass. God damn. I mean, God damn, man. That's the best goddamn water I've ever had in my entire life. Example. I was looking at getting Atomic Heart before it revealed, and it's meh. I went, okay, get it on sale. Well, here's the best part about that. If it's just okay, it's on Game Pass. I don't have to spend anything on it. Man, that water's making me thirsty. That's right. Super Dave, what's going on, man? I could tell you, Buck, that this water is definitely better than your water from 5 years ago. It's fresh. Is known exclusively gaming industry, and Microsoft Xbox is known for making third-party games Game Pass. Right? But here's the thing. 10 years from now, PlayStation 5 won't exist. Right? PlayStation 5 won't exist. You'll look back on the day and going, man, remember when we played that game on PlayStation 5? Such a good game. God of War Ragnarok on PlayStation 5? So good. 10 years from now, you'll be like, man, Xbox Game Pass. Did you see what it came out today? Right? Game Pass will still be a thing 10 years from now. There's no aging here. There's no aging here. Game Pass is the Game Pass that it was 5 years ago, which is today, which will be 10 years from now. Game Pass. Okay? It's not Game Pass 2, Game Pass 3, Game Pass 4, 5, or 6, Game Pass 10. It's just Game Pass, right? That is what they're doing. They're marketing you to a system, to a service that year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, Game Pass. And that is marketing. Except I'm going to test your water before I buy it. How would you test my water before you buy it? You would have to buy it to test it, wouldn't you? The water has been upgraded to the latest version. Game Pass 10, brought to you by Brondo. Oh, man. Sony will just move everything to PlayStation Plus and make it cloud service. Sure. But what market would that be? Right? What market would that be? What cap would that be? Right? Hopefully PlayStation has their act together, and this goes back to the conversation we had before. They have to move all their stuff to compete with Microsoft. Okay? They weren't even in this conversation when Microsoft named the other two companies they were worried about. Right? They have to move the stuff over and be just as good. Well, the funny part is Sony has to make their own streaming service. Well, they don't have their own streaming service. They have to use what Microsoft provides for them. Are you going to review Atomic Heart or just drop it off subject? I probably won't even play it, Super Dave, I'll be honest with you. I might download it today and try it tonight, but the game itself doesn't intrigue me, and I usually don't play games that don't interest me. Does the water have real-time ray tracing reflections? I don't know. I don't have any water left. I drank it all. That's what I'm saying, Akuta Papa, right? It's not picking on Travis, but it's spoken of, I'm a fanboy of this and I hate this and that's just it. Just no matter what it is, it's just bad because it's not this what I like. And I'm not gonna defend one or the other because I'm just a gamer, right? I don't own a PlayStation 5, but if I did, I would play it for the exclusives, but I wouldn't buy a PlayStation 5 to play Call of Duty or any other thing because I'm a smart consumer. If the same game is on Xbox on Game Pass, why would I pay $70 for it? You know what I mean? What kind of shader package does your water have? It's the best. The best. I mean, the argument of exclusives shouldn't exist. Okay, fine, but they do. Look at the way it was always will. Sony was great exclusive. Xbox has GPS voice, nothing. But I don't understand your argument. You're saying that the exclusives are great, right? Right? The argument of exclusives shouldn't exist, but it does, right? Xbox has their exclusives. PlayStation has their exclusives. But how can you throw your exclusives into the face of an Xbox person when your exclusives, when they have exclusives for Xbox, then you're upset at the company that's making exclusives? Right? It doesn't make sense to me. Sony didn't get into where it is by just sitting around. They innovated and kept up the times. Yes, they are 5 years behind Xbox to sub-service, but better late in a few years than never. Sure. What's the number one browser? Google, right? There was other web browsers out there to search, right? They're a small percentage. They still exist, but nobody knows of them. Right? What do you got? DuckDuckGo. You have Google. What else you have? YouTube is a search engine, right? But that's owned by Google itself, right? So Google owns the number one and number two search engines in the world. Number one search thing on Bing is Google. Yeah. Right? Like, there's multiple things in the market, and they coexist, but one's more prevalent than the others. Okay? So unless Sony is working on a thing to get on 3 billion devices, okay, they won't be able to compete. Now, they might have PlayStation Plus on their consoles and whatnot, but that's just what it is. Well, now ChatGPT now will beat Google until Google buys them. And then it'll be Google. That's what it'll be. That's what's going to happen. They'll just buy it, right? Because companies just have to keep moving. Unicron's got to come in and keep on eating. See, it's funny that you say that you're a PlayStation fan, right? And you won't buy games unless they're on sale. Otherwise, you wouldn't play them. But yet, here we are with Game Pass that has games on there that you don't have to pay full price for, and you can play them. Now, obviously, they don't have first-party titles as God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, or anything like that, but they have a whole bunch of games that you would pay $0 for. Microsoft owns GPT. Do they really? Whew. I didn't know that. That's gonna be huge for them. Wow, COD is exclusive to Xbox. Congrats. Now COD is who cares? But it's not exclusive. So you're making a hypothetical that's not happening because COD is not going to be exclusive. They've already said it was not going to be exclusive. At least for the next 10 years, it's not going to be exclusive. Try again with a different example. Is it Bard? Apparently, Sony does deeply. Sony does deeply for no reason. Apparently. Sony catalog for $120 per year sucks. You can't fight that fact. The new stuff has nothing on Game Pass at the same price. Hi-Fi Rush is the first, I'm assuming that's real, I've seen in nearly 10 years. That wasn't something that made me go, wow, you should be embarrassed. Why should I be embarrassed? Oh, should be embraced. Embraced, sorry. Go, wow, y'all should be embraced. Like, no, it's Like, where am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to take the position of defending Hi-Fi Rush? Why? Why do I care? Like, you should thank Microsoft for turning down Spider-Man, because that's how they got it. Otherwise, Spider-Man would have been exclusive for Xbox. That was a story, right? Microsoft turned down because that wasn't their vision of what they wanted to do. They didn't want to make exclusives like that. They wanted to make Game Pass. Right? What else? What else did Microsoft turn down because the companies went to them first before Sony picked them up? There was like 2 other things that they got exclusives for. If that happens, gaming will be insane. What? Can't wait for Chat GPT to be put into games? I mean, I guess it would be pretty simple to to do, because imagine a game, Krebsy, where like a police quest back in the day, where you would have to type in stuff, but you're typing into inside the game, and the game is already implemented Chat GPT inside of it, meaning it would answer you in real time. That would be insane. That would be pretty insane. Yeah, but I don't understand. What is your deal with the exclusives, though? Right? We've already established that Sony has good exclusives. So what is your point you're proving here? Like, I don't get what you're putting. The value of what Game Pass is doing is not what the exclusive titles of what it is. It's putting games out there that, instead of going to GameStop and picking up 10 games for $80, you're paying $10 and you can play all the same games that are old, new, bargain bin. They're all on the platform. Exclusives is what sells consoles, or at least it was. Again, see your old mentality of thinking here. Game Pass is not trying to sell consoles. This is why they're getting Game Pass and xCloud on 3 billion devices. You're living in the old school world. You're comparing little apples to oranges. While Microsoft is competing with the other big wigs of Amazon and Google, you're still sticking your flag in the ground going, well, we've got exclusives. Best exclusives ever. And Microsoft's like, great, we got 3 billion people playing our games at $10 a month, $15 a month. I'm not telling you to pick up anything, Travis. So it's funny to me that people get so caught up on this stuff. Like, Sony won't lend you money or help you move furniture. Exactly. See, I have no horse in the race because I'm just a gamer. I also a smart consumer, right? So let's just say Call of Duty does come on to Game Pass. Why would I go out and pay $70 for Call of Duty when I know it's the same type of game every single year, when I can play the exact same game on Xbox for no additional cost? Starfield will set the precedent, and we'll see how the effects of Game Pass sales. I don't think they're trying to sell it, though. They're just trying to get people. If you came in 1 month to play Starfield, and the infrastructure, let's say 100 million people came in for 1 month just to try Starfield out, right? And then left. That's 100 million people that paid $10 or $1, whatever you want to, right? Just for that 1 month. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot more information that they get from a whole bunch of other people. I don't have an actual number from the article I read, but I thought it was interesting that Sony made Horizon Forbidden West for around 115 million, but the Saints Row was made for 165 million. Well, that's because they got robbed. The Embracer Group got robbed. Saints Row was terrible. To be clear, I don't hate Xbox. I won't block someone else from getting it. I just have zero interest. You have way more interest than you think you do, because you've been arguing for the last 45 minutes about Xbox sucking and Sony being number one. Until it comes out, Game Pass, I'm not buying it twice. It's an actual thought of doing that. Right? If it's... think about it. Right? Let's say Atomic Heart. Right? Great game. Okay? You buy Atomic Heart. You're done with it, you put it down. Or you play it on Game Pass as an Xbox person. You play it, you beat it, you put it down. Are you going to go back and buy it to go, well, I want to play it later? It's a good game. You can literally buy it anytime after the fact after that. And it would be cheaper at that fact. Right? Or you can wait 20% off, or not buy it and then wait and then buy it later for cheaper. I have yet to not buy and love a Sony exclusive, so me having Game Pass wouldn't change it. But it also, if you had Game Pass, it wouldn't change anyway, right? See, this is what I don't understand. So, you think if you have Xbox Game Pass, you're not going to buy exclusives for Sony. That makes no sense. If you had Game Pass, you would still buy the exclusives for Sony, and you would still have more games to play on Game Pass. Okay. I don't think Starfield will be sold on the current Game Pass model. I think Microsoft will update Game Pass model to use Starfield to usher in the new model to people. You're getting that from Creature. You're getting that from Creature. The price hike that everyone's saying now that Game Pass is going to all of a sudden go up into price. One, I said that a year and a half ago that they're going to raise the price. Two, I said that when Starfield comes out, they would probably raise the price of that. Okay. So when people would argue with me, Big Bad Mo, right, was in here. Mad Mo was in here saying that no way they're going to raise the price. I was on record saying, yes, 100% they're going to raise the price. And then shortly after that, Microsoft came out and said that they're going to have a family plan. Right? And I said they'll probably raise the price by 2024 is what I said. Right? But I don't think Starfield is going to be the lead of that. I don't think they're going to take Starfield to come out and go, well, if you want to play Starfield, you'll have to pay the $15 a month. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they might change the scale of ads, non-ads, and then an ultimate type of thing with tiered program. They're trying to get people to come to Game Pass, right? They need a first-party title to put on Game Pass to get people to come to Game Pass. There's no way they would raise the price before they get Starfield onto Game Pass. They would get the game on there first, and then do it. Like 6 months to a year afterwards. I think I can't afford both systems to pick a PlayStation 5. If I had enough for both, I would. I get both probably, but I don't. Or yelling at the screen ads. No, that's Sony, Sarge. You're going to have to yell at the advertisement for Sony. That's a patent Sony has. Well, then you might want to buckle up, Travis, because literally there's multiple patents signed by PlayStation, by Sony, to run ads while you play your video games, and yet you would have to scream at your television whatever the ad is. So buckle up with your exclusives. You're going to have to scream McDonald's or Burger King or whatever else it is when you're playing Sony. That's a patent that Sony has filed. That's not a Microsoft thing. That's a Sony thing. They can start a new benefit with Game Pass that you get to play the game 1 week early. I've said that in the past as well. I said that. I even said that they could do the ultimate and you get games like a beta early access of the game. I said that when we played Battlefield 2042 last year. Microsoft is also doing the ad stuff. Yeah, no, but they're not making you scream at the television. That's a patent done by Sony, right? The ads thing is a thing, right? But screaming at your television is a Sony patent, not a Microsoft patent. Keep in mind, I don't connect to the internet. How are you watching me? I don't understand. Oh, see, you're stuck in the old world, Travis. You don't own anything, right? It doesn't matter if you stream it or download it. You literally don't own anything. You are licensing the game. That is in the OK button every time you play a game, and it's in the written contract. Is waiting for Starfield to come out on Game Pass just waits until they get to see how players who played Starfield, if the game's well on Game Pass, they'll have a price rise, right or not. I don't think they will. There's nothing, right? There's nothing of real attraction right now for Game Pass, first party titles, for the people that want the exclusive titles. So if the first full game came out that was the first exclusive that was attractive to people, I don't think they would raise the price. Raising the price has to do with getting a bunch of titles, getting multiple titles, multiple things on there at once. Now, if you want to say they raise the price once Activision Blizzard deal goes through, and all of a sudden they add all of Blizzard's games on there, and they're underneath the higher price point, then I can see that happening. I don't see it happening just for Starfield. Right? If they move World of Warcraft on Game Pass, if they move all of like Starfield and Warcraft and Diablo and all the other games that they own, 100% I can see a price increase because there's multiple exclusive first-party titles, paid for, non-paid for, whatever, on the service. They can raise the price. But for one thing, I own my physical discs. You do not. You do not own your physical discs. Sorry to break it to you. You own the physical disc. You can use it as a coaster, a frisbee, a disc, as wall art. But the game on that disc, if it needs online access, if it needs any type of patch to make it or fix it, you do not own that game. You can think you do, but you do not. Microsoft is making games $70 now, so they want more money, so Game Pass increases isn't off the table. No, they raise the price, they cause the problem, and sell you the solution. The price, the problem is that games are costing $70. We have the solution for you, Game Pass. You have to slowly build it up. The family plan is the first one, how they raise the price before they actually raise the price. So it'll be a 10, a 15, and then the family plan, which will be like 20, 25. How so? Couldn't you just scale it back to playable state? If they decide You ever heard of a game called Battleborn? I own the disc. I played it. Doesn't exist anymore. Ultimate Alliance, the licensing of the games. I put my disc in, it doesn't work. I can put it in my 360, okay? But I can't play it in the new systems because of licensing. Okuda Papa says, you own nothing per TOS. You have always been licensing the software from the company. This is how it's been since the beginning of time. What about Destiny 2? The Red War, the beginning of Destiny 2. I bought it. I paid for it. I played it. Can't access it right now. They also said that the service of Xbox is saturated. So you reach the saturation, don't you increase price? Phil Spencer didn't exactly say it's at the saturated point. He says he said something along the lines. Okay? They're at the saturation point because they have no titles. Right? They're at the saturation point because they have no first-party titles. Okay? But once they get first-party titles, right? Once they get the 38 studios or 42 studios and they have more first-party titles on the thing, that is where the saturation point goes up again because more people will be interested in getting Game Pass. Right now, they're at the saturation point, right? And they're trying to get people in. 30 has not lied. No, I have not. That is true, Travis. That is true. I miss Battleborn 2, El Dente. I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was a good game. It had its problems with the leveling and stuff like that. Like you would waste 45 minutes of your time, but I like that game. I like just leveling up the characters. But my question is, would be do they eventually drop first party completely? No. Why would they? They can't. How would they drop first party title completely? You're saying that all the studios underneath Microsoft would make all their games for every system? No. They would have their first party titles to make first party for Game Pass, just like first party title. If you think that Microsoft is going to drop their first party titles, then you have to think that Sony's going to drop their first party titles as well. Right? And this is what I don't understand. You're okay to be a Sony PlayStation fanboy, like they're going to loan you money because of their first-party titles, but now you're saying that Xbox, are they going to get rid of their first-party titles? Why would they? Man, is it really that late already? No, I'm saying that if they stop making exclusives because nobody cares, and I can just get third-party games. But who? Everybody in the industry? Are you saying PlayStation and Xbox alone? They just stop making first-party exclusives? Well, you can, Sarge. You just got to buy a PlayStation. How much did Halo Infinite make opposed to Hogwarts Legacy? We don't know the sales numbers anymore because they're all digital. We know for a fact that Halo Infinite in Europe or whatever, or for PC, sold 2 million copies. But we don't know how many. Right? And we still don't even know the sales for Hogwarts Legacy. They just tell us that it sold more than one other game, but we don't know the sales numbers of that one either. And of course, a third-party game on 7 platforms is going to sell more than a one on 2 platforms, right? This is just logic. If I see Halo isn't doing as well, if they stop making Halo in order to focus on solely Game Pass, but they need Halo to be on Game Pass, right? They need their first-party titles on Game Pass to sell Game Pass, on top of the third-party titles of Game Pass. To solely focus on Game Pass only works with games, right? Third party, first party, independent, right? That's the thing. Again, if it's a third party game and it's on all platforms, if I own a PlayStation, I own an Xbox, I own a Switch, and the third party game is out on all systems, including Game Pass, why would I buy it on PlayStation or Switch when I have it on Xbox? And if it's a game that's cross-play as well, right? If it's cross-play, I can play on any system. Why would I spend $70 if I can spend $10? I want to be clear on something. I want Xbox to have good exclusives, even if I have no interest in competition alone. Both need exclusives, but they have exclusives. Your argument has completely changed from the beginning. You said that Xbox didn't have exclusives, which it does. Okay, and then you're upset that they have exclusives like a Starfield coming out. And now you're saying that you want them to have both exclusives. We know that Hogwarts Legacy beats 80% higher than Elden Ring in the UK box cart. But we don't know what that means, though. 80% of what? What was that record? They could have sold one game, and then Hogwarts Legacy sold 80 games. It didn't have any exclusives. It does. Forza Horizon 4 is a good exclusive. Right? That's exclusive. That's a good game. It's already shattered the no exclusives. Right? Sea of Thieves, it's exclusive. I mean, it's on PC, but it's exclusive. It's a good game. It wasn't good when it came out, but it's a good game now. You might not like it, but it's an exclusive game. It's a fun game. Now, I'm not going to say they have a lot of exclusives, but they have exclusives. I mean, I don't know if it's a good exclusive or not. That's subjective. That's subjective to you and me. Something that I like, you might hate. Something you love, I might hate. Yeah, but have you played it? See, that's the thing. You hear that it's garbage, but did you play it? Because to me, Sea of Thieves, and I mean this, is one of the greatest games ever created. Because it's an actual fun sandbox game. It takes you out of the world and brings you in, and you are a pirate in this world. Now, obviously, the gameplay and stuff like that, but literally, you could do anything you want in that game. I think cells of 80% is cells. I'm fully sure that's 30 on that 30. What do you mean? I think sales of the 80% in sales. I'm fully sure. Yeah, but 80%. What I'm saying is we don't know what that sales numbers is. So saying 80%, we don't know what the base number is to say, well, it's 80% more. That's all I'm saying. Right? They could have sold 1,000 units. And that's all they know track record of because they only keep track of physical units in the UK. So now they sold 80% more than 1,000 units. Everyone gets a beer. I got to end this because it's 12:42. I got to go eat lunch before I go pick up my son. So, love the conversation, right? Nobody needs to get angry or towards anybody. It was good conversation. I think maybe the miscommunication on something. I don't care if Xbox gets caught, which it's not. It will mean that I stop paying attention to it. But if they get it, people buy it, great. It just won't keep getting it. I just won't keep getting it. Well, obviously, if you're a PlayStation fan, and if they do, which they're not, get Call of Duty exclusive, then you would not play it anymore. Unless you wanted to, and then you would have to get Game Pass, right? Which you won't. But that's here. There's a lot of ifs, ands, ors, and buts about there. Right? So I will be back tonight. I don't know if we'll play Atomic Heart. We'll probably play some more Hogwarts Legacy because I'm really not interested in any way, shape, or form in Atomic Heart. Might be a great game. It just doesn't appeal to me. So we'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. I actually might not even play a game tonight. I might talk about movie stuff tonight. We might be over on Nerding with 30. I'll let you know. If you're not following me, Please make sure you go over to our Nerding with 30. Hit the subscribe button over there so you know when I go live. Go to our Twitter account, 30 and Still Gaming, so you know when I go live. And go to our Discord and make sure you're linked up there as well. Because there's a lot of news about DC. There's a lot of news about Quantum Mania, box office stuff. I want to talk about it, but I can't talk about it on this channel. So I might do a stream at Nerding with 30 tonight. Not sure. We are streaming tonight. If it's on this channel or if it's on my other channel, we will have something going on. So I appreciate it very much. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. Thank you very much for the conversation, for the good conversation. Nobody got mad at each other or anything like that. Appreciate it very much. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Oh, before I do that, I have a video that I'm going to post right now before actually we go. Hold on a second. I almost forgot. I have a video that we're going to do. It was supposed to go off at 12:30. It actually already might have went. It did. It's already live. It went at 12:30. Hogwarts Legacy New Game Plus. I read an article there, give you my opinion of it and whatnot. Go check it out, help it out, let it grow. Hit the like button on there. Appreciate you very much, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.